Um, any questions?
Sean, it seems like the quarterbacks are pretty accurate today overall with Bridgewater and Taysom.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, look, we had a number of periods. We had a third down period. We'll take a peek at the tape. I thought the defense did pretty well in the 2-minute drill at the end. I thought the practice coming off of I thought last night was one of our better practices, and I felt like they followed up today with another good practice on both sides of the ball. So, there'll be a little time now where they're off. We're kind of into our Tuesday off day and kind of go from there.
Sean, A.J. Klein said the other day that these players are good at coaching themselves when something breaks down, doing it on the fly. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think some of that comes from a little bit of experience. It's a little harder typically for maybe the first-year player, but hopefully if you're looking at the right type of guys and we're placing a high value on football intelligence, at some point during the course of a game, there's some things that are going to happen maybe that you hopefully have covered, and yet sometimes you're going to rely on your leaders on either side of the ball that are out there for that play to react in a favorable way. But I think some of that comes with just time on task and experience in what we're doing.
Coach, without Alvin and Drew on the field, what does it mean to them to be able to?
Excuse me?
With Alvin and Drew not on the practice field, they're not playing. What does that kind of give them practice-wise, and why is it important to give them that extra time?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it last night. We'll do a load prevention list, and the idea of that is to, selectively look at a few different players relative to the kind of reps they're getting, might be their age, might be injury-related, recovery, and try to map out ahead of time a plan that allows that player maybe to recover one extra day. And so there's 3 different groups in that. There's a group coming off of surgery, call it group 1, and the second group might be a veteran group that's played quite a while, and the third group might be the fewest amount. There might be just a couple sprinkled in. So that's the goal.
Coach, the Ravens and the Jaguars held a moment of silence this morning to remember the victims of the shootings this past weekend. Did you do anything like that with your team?
I did not, and I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad someone in our league did, and that was good thinking, and probably something that was significant to those 2 teams, and certainly, when something like that comes up in 2 different cities, it's tragic, it's disappointing, and it just keeps repeating itself. So I'm not going to get into a long political answer here. I'll just say that.
Coach Payton, with Zigbo, did you sell him on? We had Pierre Thomas coming, Chris Ivory, Kai Robinson. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think our history speaks for itself. I think the agents are able to see that, especially into our 13th year. I mean, we deal with a lot of these same agents, and they understand that, and so hopefully he feels like, hey, I got to go out and put my best stuff on tape and see where that lays.
Does each preseason game have a different personality or a different purpose?
To some degree, I think there's a philosophy with all of them. How we're playing guys can vary in each game. Tomorrow we'll meet as a staff and we'll go through the roles relative to Minnesota, like the play count we expect. We'll discuss every player that's dressed in the game. How many plays we'd like to see them play. In the kicking game, both offensively and defensively, and then the key is then communicating that so we have an organized game, and we're not stuck with 10 guys on the field. It's a little bit harder in the kicking game sometimes, but from that standpoint, I would say week by week there might be some differences. I think from a competitive standpoint and trying to win and trying to put your best foot forward, that would be consistent in each week.
Because some of your offensive linemen before training camp started got together for the offensive line master summit. Were you aware of that? And what are your thoughts on players getting together like that and sharing
I'm
ideas?
all for it. I wasn't aware of that. Where's the national summit at?
It's in Dallas. It was it's held by Duke Manning.
Yep. Okay. And look, there are a handful of places where certain positions train, and I know Phoenix, Dallas, they get quite a few offensive linemen. So, but I wasn't aware that there was a summit. What's the definition of a summit?
They all got together and shared ideas.
7. Once you get to 7, it's a summit. I don't know.
I'd like someone to look that up. What a summit is. I feel like it's much too important for anything we do. A summit.
Sean, did you look much into Jared Cook's background and try to identify what kind of held him back from having the kind of season he had last year, or why he didn't have more?
Look, I saw real good film when he was in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I saw real good film last year, and so anytime you're in free agency, you gather as much information as you can, and then when the player arrives, there's certain things you weren't aware of that are good, maybe sometimes weren't so good. In his case, it was all positive. He was a tremendous worker, dedicated, I think someone who's a true pro in every sense of the word, and I think that he's been a real good addition for us.
Do you think it's not a coincidence that he thrived in John Gruden's offense?
Well, I think sometimes there's a fit. Sometimes there's a fit, and maybe some other places it's more difficult. So there's a little bit of, is it the right script for success? There've been a lot of real good actors in poor movies, and there've been a lot of poor actors in poor movies. So I think it's up to us to really look closely at the things that he does well and feature those things.
Yeah, I heard you on Sirius XM. He's high on the garage sale test or whatever
my parents love garage sales. So every Saturday and Sunday, that was their hobby together, and they would go garage sailing and come back. We probably had about 10 different sofas growing up, and each one met with the same enthusiasm when it arrived. And then every once in a while you'd lean back and it'd be like a leg off. You're like, this is why it was for sale. So we knew we were getting another one. That was their thing.
Do you remember 2 years ago what the genesis was from claiming Taysom?
I remember everything about it.
Who first came up with the idea, hey, well, let's try this guy somewhere else?
Well, so the claim takes place, and he comes in. We know we have a real good athlete. We're excited about it. We were worried that, he might not get to 11. We were 11th in the claiming order. And the first weekend he gets to play significantly in special teams, we were at our inactive list, and generally there's a handful of injured guys in that list. They're naturally going to be inactive. And we were at 8 with 4 injured players and then 4 guys available, and we just discussed each of the 4 players. And I said to Mike Westhoff, what about Hill? And Mike was one of those guys, I'll take him. And he came out, and that was his first exposure to the kicking game and special teams, and he played very well in that game. He wasn't playing that role that we use offensively as much, but we knew we had a real good athlete that loved football, and so it kind of was born out of one extra spot because of injury.
Sean, if I can recall, I think it might have been his rookie year. We played in the Patriots, and Julian Edelman, I think he's back there. A college quarterback, he runs back a punt, seemed like 25, 30 yards. Was that a vision from the get-go with him as a receiver, or just?
Yeah, I don't know firsthand. I think that Bill and their staff have done a really good job of having a vision for a player athletically, and I can't speak for. I remember some early practices with them where, you began to see his role maybe get defined. But I think the thing they do a real good job with is, really harping on the things they feel like a player can do a little bit more than the things that he can't do. And then I think they look at it that way, and they look at it from, hey, what can he give us? And so my guess is there was a plan. I just don't know.
Do you think, now it would be speculation, but I know you commented previously about McSorley at Penn State, looks very athletic with the Ravens. Copycat league, you hear that all the time. Maybe in with Taysom.
I don't, not having paid attention to their practices or depth chart or anything, it could very well be playing him at quarterback, which was his college position. What they're wanting to do offensively, it might be a great fit. So I think that can vary. But I do think teams in general, prior to a selection, talk out loud about the vision for the player and what they see him doing.
Now, Sean, looking at the preseason game coming up, and you're trying to give a running back an opportunity to be productive, is there a number? We say touches. I'm like, okay, we're going to give you 10 or 12 runs.
So look, it's a little bit harder sometimes. There's a play count number, and we take phases. Phase 1's in, phase 2's in, and then while we discuss those phases, we'll talk about, hey, I'd like to see this guy get this. I'd like to see. It's a little bit harder at receiver, but we do try to. And then, as the game's going, if for whatever reason, we talk about play count because, look, one side of the ball might get more of the second quarter than the other, so the other might stay on longer. But, yeah, when we talk tomorrow, we'd love to see this guy get a return. We'd love to see this guy, see how he does in third down. We'd like to see, how the protection is with this combination of players and, what we can do with the linebackers. We try to map out what to expect.
Coach, is there a different level of focus or energy in a game week versus having to go through?
I think it changes a little bit as you get close to putting on Minnesota film, discussing the Vikings, and now you're gonna face someone else other than yourself. Yes.
Coach, why do you think teams are more open to trying an RPO now versus before? It's been done before.
Yeah, I think we're getting more RPO talent from college, and I also think we're getting some RPO coaching talent. And oftentimes, if there's a conviction or belief and a knowledge from a coach, then we're more willing to try something. So I think part of it is what we're getting from the college game, both as coaches and as players.
Related to Cook, how similar, or in your opinion, what's the best way to describe any kind of similarities in philosophy between you and John? I mean, would it be the kind of thing where you would say, well, it worked well in John's offense and we're like-minded coaches?
Well, look, my first NFL job at the Eagles in 1997 was working for John. I mean, he was our offensive coordinator, and so I cut my teeth a little bit offensively in his system. And I would think over the years, I'm sure there's terminology differences, but I think, look, John is extremely talented in putting together a plan. Just the installation, the consistency with how you teach and what you do with your players. I mean, some of those things. I mean, it was a great, for me. It was like the perfect first year job in the NFL is really, working underneath him and kind of being a blank tape, if you will.
It's been 20 years, right? So have you guys?
It's been that long, huh?
Hasn't it? Maybe
97.
So
2007.
Do you think you're pretty divergent now?
We're different, but yet there's some similarities. We'll watch and study their film and look for ideas.
How practices kind of change during a game week versus the rest of the?
It would typically change closer to the game in the preseason. So if we were in a regular season, we might. Today would have been Minnesota. Tomorrow, and so in the preseason, you might just devote the last couple leading up to the game rather than the whole week. So that would be the big thing. All right, thank you.
So Marcus, how do you feel right now compared to getting your feet wet last year and you're a rookie and all that? Is it all about confidence and obviously health, but confidence right now, being a confidence player?
I would believe so. I think confidence is, bred from preparation. And I know we've been consistently preparing, and, it's just all about that consistency, step by step. So, yeah.
How exciting is it to finally be able to be in a game week? Obviously, it's still preseason, but after going through training camp and everything, it's finally game week. What's kind of the feeling in the locker room, and how's it kind of different?
I think I'm like the worst person to ask about that. I think almost all of us, we're day by day. We know that we have to literally take it step by step, or else, you might get lost along the way. And so, that's Friday. That's not today. We got to focus on today.
How much has Cam Jordan helped you out? I know he's spoken highly of how you play and your progress since you've gotten here.
Cam is like that coach that you can't really turn off. But, I say that lovingly because, he's always there. He's always trying to help me. And that's someone that, when I have an idea and I can't get to my coach, I spitball it off of him.
So Marcus, when you look at last year coming into the league and looking at Okafor, you got Cam Jordan, Okafor, what did you get from him about maybe being that every down defensive end, not only just rushing the passer, but on first down, just in the run game, run defense?
What I got from Alex the most was knowledge. He was always in his film study and his playbook. He knew the calls, he knew what to be prepared for, and he definitely helped me with that. He taught me different little tricks on film, and it translated.
Marcus, what is one of the toughest things converting coming from college to the NFL?
I think it's different for everybody, but my toughest thing was, I would say, the mental aspect, dealing with the pressure, the media, and just expectations. Sometimes the biggest are your own, and, you got to be confident in what you do and, learn yourself. It's still a process.
How's the preparation kind of changed on, I guess, maybe on the game week versus the rest of the training camp?
Shoot, we haven't, as far as this, we're still taking, our day by day. It's always going to be a process. We install, we play it, we correct. It really depends on the day.
Thanks, brother.
How's training camp going so far? Training camp or cramp? Yeah, I mean it's a grind. Every year, everyone gets bumps and bruises, but having fun, getting better as a team, and things. I think we're improving each day as a wide receiver core.
What's a noticeable difference? Is there anything compared to last year and this year that you guys that need to sharpen up?
Yeah, I mean I think. Last year, there's a narrative of us being young generally as a group, and a year of experience can make a big difference. With Keith and Traquan and myself, I think that that on the field experience last year, no, the world's not different after 1 year of experience, but I think the experience could be the difference between getting a step further in the playoffs. So the experience, the communication, and the rapport that we have with Drew, I think has improved and something that we're continually working on.
Hey, Austin, has someone ever come to you on the street, like fans or who that agent say, well, Are you going to be the next Lance Moore, Willie Snead? Have you heard that? Or?
Yeah, you know, people always like to compare. People always like to forecast what I'm going to be, and I just want to be as productive as possible. You know, I'm not a guy that pays super close attention to stats and so on, but the most that I can contribute from the slot and wherever else the coaches need me is sort of the goal. Yeah. Lance has helped coach me up too, which has been really useful. So if I look like him, I thank him. You know, yeah.
Drew was always out there coaching you guys up, but today it seemed like he got a chance to do that a little bit more. How much do you learn from him, and maybe even more so on days like this where he's just being a coach?
Right. You know, the quarterback-receiver relationship is founded on trust and communication, and I think when he's able to just watch everything, he sees a lot more as a third-party observer, and so that helps all of us, I think, just with route, with depth, with what he's expecting from the pocket. Him being able to pull back and see that, and then for us to go in the film later on is going to be really useful.
What's the most useful thing you've gotten from Lance?
You know, so Lance coached me up a little bit in San Diego when we were doing some off-season stuff, and honestly, Lance, I think, boosted my confidence. I don't think he wanted to tweak a ton with my game. You know, some minor details with route technique and things like that, and you know, ways to separate a little bit more, but by and large, I think he boosted my confidence, saying, you know, it's just a matter of time before, you know, production increases.
That was this offseason?
Yeah.
How did that come about? I know he's around here a fair amount.
Yeah. So he was in San Diego with us when we were training for a few days. So, you know, I don't know if he lives out there, but he showed up to our workout.
So who else was at the workouts?
So Drew likes to bring you know, the receivers out to San Diego, and so it was you know, Traquan and Mike and Keith, Richard, myself, and it's over the course of a five week span. So I'm not sure all who was there, but that was who was there while I was there.
It's preseason game week. Does the week in practice kind of change? Is there a new kind of energy knowing that at the end of this week you guys actually have a game to play versus more practice?
Yeah, you know, we go through more situations. We start to prepare for certain schemes, I think, that we're going to see in the game. But by and large, you know, it's training camp, right? We're trying to grind through each day and take it one day at a time. I think that once we get off this day off, we'll be focusing a lot more on Minnesota, but especially before the first game, you don't have much tape on your opponent, so you're really focusing on yourself.
You talked about the difference 1 year can make for guys like you and Traquan and Keith. For you, I guess just in particular, what do you feel like the sense of urgency is in camp a year later, you know, having so many other young wide receivers here right now?
Yeah, sense of urgency is high. I feel a hunger from the wide receivers to the quarterbacks, running backs, et cetera, to really whatever blind spots we've missed last year, whatever parts of our game that prevented us from getting to the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, we want to cover those now and cover as much ground as we can before the season starts, because it's a 16-week grind.
What has the competition been like within all of these wide receivers that you guys have here in camp so far?
It's been very high, very talented group. It's an honor to be a part of them. You know, some guys get nagging injuries, and you know, I thank God that hasn't happened to me yet, but it's been extremely competitive. Raises the bar of everybody from Mike on down to the newest rookie.
Austin, how did you end up at Northwestern? You know, Zach Shreve, voice of the Saints.
Yeah.
Northwestern. So how did you end up there?
Yeah, so a long story short, I applied on a whim and actually turned my application in thinking it was late because I was in California time and it was two-hour difference, and I got accepted, and they didn't recruit me. So I sent my tapes, and my high school coach talked to Coach Fitz, and Fitz said, yeah, we've got a spot for him. And kind of the rest is history. Yeah.
Were you thinking, you said on a whim, were you thinking academics first, or were you already thinking football?
I was thinking both. I wanted to go to a place where academics and athletics were at a high level. I wanted to get off the West Coast. You know, I born and raised in California. And Chicago seemed like a pretty cool spot. I don't know if you've been. It's a great spot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I like the deep dish pizza. North side especially, yeah. I'm a Giordano's guy. I don't know, deep dish pizza, there's a big debate, but yeah.
All right, thanks, Austin.
Yeah, no problem.